The Kenobi series is just 2 days away, and in preparation for this, Disney and Lucasfilm have done in their marketing push what any sane company would do in their position. They lined up all of their customers' faces in a row and then just started kicking them in the teeth as hard as possible. Normally, this isn't a strategy I'd recommend, but for some reason, Disney are going all in on it. Because quite frankly, they think their customers are filth, and they want the filth to know it. That's how you end up with titles like this, that Lucasfilm warned Moses Ingram about how she's going to have Star Wars trolls and harassment will almost certainly happen. Obviously it will. These are your customers, and for some reason you've bred customers which just despise everybody, I guess, and just can't control themselves. So you have to go out and warn your actors about them. Oh, the horror, the horror. I mean, nobody else in the universe has seen this. No one else in the fandom sees this. Only Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm knows how to protect people. Because the first way that Lucasfilm protects their actors from this is to scare them of the very customers that they're supposed to be trying to entertain. Because this is something Lucasfilm got in front of. They've just said it will happen, but don't worry, Lucasfilm is here to protect you if it happens. Oh, the naughty pixels might come and offend me, but if you do, don't worry, we've got a therapist on hand and a 24-hour comfort blanket just to be made available for you whenever you need it. But all of this seems a little bit contradictory, doesn't it? Why would someone entering the franchise suddenly kick up a load of harassment? That doesn't really make sense, especially when The Independent says that she's taking on a prominent role in a franchise that has historically given non-white actors short shift. I'm like, I'm sorry? At this point, Independent, Mace Windu calls you a liar, but Moses has said that Obi-Wan is going to bring the most diversity we've ever seen in the galaxy before. I mean, I don't think you can actually do that, considering the galaxy has aliens in it. I'm sorry, dear, but I think aliens from outer space on other planets are a little bit more varied than your ability to handle the beach better than I can. If you've got talking droids and aliens, but no people of different vitamin C levels, it doesn't make any sense. It's the current year, you know. To me, it's long overdue. Yes, this is the first part she's been hired because of her vitamin D levels, and so obviously it's a major deal for her. She's also 29, so obviously has a vast amount of life experience to back all of these accusations up. I mean, it's worth pointing out at this point that she wasn't even born when the original trilogy was created, which might be why she doesn't have any idea of the people that starred in it. It's 2022, you know. Yes, it's the current year. I'm so glad she informed us of which rotation around the sun the Earth is doing this time, because without her, no one would be able to have told. So we're just at the beginning of that change. Are you actually mentally deficient? That's the question that I've got for you right now. We're at the beginning of that change. Firstly, what change? From what? To what? In what order, and where are you going? And secondly, why are we at the beginning of it? Because you're going to have to explain what we've been doing for the multiple thousands of years that humans have been on the planet until this moment, if we're only at the beginning of whatever you think we should be doing, which you haven't actually informed us of what that is. But I think that change is better than never having started it. Started what? You haven't actually said anything, because so far all we're being told is that you seem to be the first person who isn't white in Star Wars. And as I've said, Mace Windu calls you a liar. But Mace Windu isn't the only one, because Lando Calrissian also calls you a liar, and he calls you a liar from way back in 1980. Look, dear, I know it's challenging. I know you're only 29 and you were born in 1993, but please, just for the sake of the world, keep up. But then we've got Data Racer who put in the extra work to go out and check. Well, apparently she's going to be getting a load of people despising her even being in Star Wars, is she? Because apparently, on all of her 500 Instagram replies, she doesn't have a single negative comment. Not one. Hey, I mean, one of the problems with making a false narrative is it should at least somehow appear in reality. You couldn't even been bothered to make a couple of bots and do it yourself. That's the surprising bit, Lucasfilm. But it does strike me as odd that Lucasfilm would want people to be annoyed at a character. That they would send out this bait deliberately to annoy people to try and cause the reaction that they're talking about in the first place. That's the intention, because otherwise you wouldn't needlessly try and antagonize your customer base by telling them they're all filth in your eyes. But going out and randomly antagonizing customers is exactly what they've done. And there's been a whole load of other weird articles that have come out in the run-up to Obi-Wan. and this is one of them. Obi-Wan Kenobi star details importance of her character, Inquisitor Reva, having braids. The hair was a big deal. No, the hair wasn't. The hair really isn't important at all, because if the hair was important, they'd stop giving them side shaves that made them all look incredibly ugly. But that's what we've had for years. Now, the braid bit itself isn't the most interesting part of this article, but it does go on that essentially the hair had been designed differently, and her hair basically didn't do what they wanted the character's hair to do. Their design was something that her hair didn't do naturally. So they worked together and they ended up in braids. But then she says, it was really important for me to do what my hair does. I don't know why. Were you too lazy to sit through hair and makeup for a while to get your hair to do something different? And you're just like, screw this. I want whatever my hair does in the morning just to be what it is. I mean, to be fair, I understand that. When I get out of bed and make a YouTube video, my hair is basically just all over the place, and that's the way I film the video. It's because I don't really care about my hair. I would expect someone in Hollywood to sit through hair and makeup and be able to handle that. But apparently, she can't, and so it's just bedhead for her whenever she wants. But when it comes to why all of this happens, I think we get a little sign than the rest of this article, because there's some really strange comments she's been going around making. Because apparently, she was also explaining how much it means to be playing a strong female character that young girls can look up to. And I'm like, hang on. You're the evil person in the story. You're the Sith. I don't know if you know much about the Sith. Don't know if you're a Star Wars fan because you didn't seem to know who was playing it in the earlier original trilogies. Admittedly, you weren't born when they were out, but you could have at least gone and bought them on DVD, love. But in case you didn't know, the Sith are evil. And a Sith isn't exactly a strong female character I'd want any young girls to look up to. Oh yeah, one day, if you put the effort in and you do well in school and do all your homework, you too can be evil and murder planets. It's not exactly something I'd want Sesame Street to make a song about, but this is Disney, and so that could well just be one of the moral messages that they're pushing on kids nowadays. But she says when she was watching TV as a child, she was told she wasn't strong enough, and I'm like, yeah, you were about 5. How many 5-year-olds do you know that can go out and bench press things? Or that certain things they were watching were for boys? That's probably because they were. It doesn't mean that you couldn't watch them, you clearly did watch them. But it does mean that certain programs are aimed at certain groups of people because those are the people that generally like them. And if you don't actually aim them at those people and design to aim them for the people who aren't generally interested in them, you end up losing a lot of money, which is also a lesson which Disney is learning. However, she explained that the phrase, fight like a girl, which is often used in a demeaning way, yes, I'm sorry that the reality of human biology offends you, but you are living in the real world, and so by 29, I would have worked on accepting that by this point. But can take on a different meaning when it comes to Reva. That's because she's got the power of the Force and a lightsaber. And, let's not forget, it's make-believe fantasy. Doesn't change any of those comments in real life as they were told to you originally. I don't feel like when someone's like, you're not very strong, they should also make the caveats of, you're 5 and not in Star Wars. You should be able to realize that as a standard human being with a brain. But shedding further light on Reva's narrative in the 6-part series, Moses said that she's really smart and plays on offense. Don't worry, I have no problem believing that many people will find your narrative in Kenobi to be offensive. She's always 10 steps ahead. She's a subordinate to Darth Vader, and she's going to do everything she can to get the job done to the best of her ability. Yes, this is someone who is under an incredibly evil person and is always 10 steps ahead and just really enthusiastic about doing the evil job of her evil lord to the best of her ability. That really sounds like a strong female character that young girls can look up to, doesn't it? Or is it not quite what it seems? Because there were Kenobi leaks. Now, I'm not going to mention any of the Kenobi leaks. There's not going to be any spoilers in this. But I do think that this article makes it clear that this clearly evil character that works for Darth Vader and is always 10 steps ahead doing the best evil she can do isn't probably something that young girls are going to look up to. So it implies a bit of a change, doesn't it? It implies that maybe all isn't what it seems and there's actually going to be some kind of bait and switch here. And that's exactly what people expect from Disney, because that's exactly what they've done in all of their other movies and TV series. Oh look, here's the main character. This is the character you came up for, and now we're going to switch it so somebody else is the main character. I don't know. Maybe a different role model, for instance. Right from the trailer, people were saying the exact same thing. That this was going to be a bait and switch, that obviously after the second episode, it would all be about her, and from everything it seems like that's exactly what we're going to get. I don't really know why else you would go out and deliberately try and antagonize the fans. Do you think that this makes people want to watch your TV series? Do you think that this will make you money? Because it won't. But that's not necessarily the aim, is it? If the aim is to send her out and already make other headlines in preparation for what they know is coming, when the show comes out and it turns out the show probably isn't going to be what everyone thinks it is. About Kenobi. We saw the same thing in Halo, where everyone was talking about his helmet, and they even drew attention to the fact he took his helmet off immediately. When actually, as it turned out, there were so many other things that were worse about the show, but because everyone was looking at the helmet, all that sailed under the radar for at least the first week anyway. If we can get the headlines out in advance, if we can get the narrative out in advance, then by the time we get to the episodes that really offend the fans, we've already got the excuses lined up, and we can just point to those as the excuse for our failure. It wasn't the writers or the directors or the actors and the cast, no. It was those filthy fans once again going out and doing things that we knew they'd do. And that's the excuse they'll push to their boss. That's the excuse they'll do for wasting millions of dollars. Because it doesn't matter to them whether they make the money or not. What they want is to push exactly what they want to push. They want to push this idea out into the world, to keep banging on about how this is some incredible thing, because for some reason, we've only just started in the current year. It doesn't matter that she's objectively wrong, or that she's objectively wrong since before she was even born. The only thing that matters is that now it's in the press, now it's in an authoritative source, and so that's what they're going to use as their evidence. Even though it's evidence that they created. And when the show has failed and they've used that excuse to their bosses and they've not got fired because it's just not their fault, they'll move on to the next thing and destroy that as well. So while the story here is the basic farce, the lie that this has never happened before and that the fans are all to blame, I do think that there's a bit more to this, that it's a smokescreen used for the inevitable that they know. Because if the leaks are accurate, then they already know the response to them. Oof, they're gonna be fun. And so if you already know the response to your TV show, you already know it's not going to be good, but it's too late to change it, what are you gonna do? Well, that is just where you build an excuse in advance, in preparation, so that you can already attack all of the people that you blame for your own failure and complete lack of talent. If you want a tip, Lucasfilm, maybe this is the best one for you. If you think that navigating the depressing realities of social media is just one of the sacrifices that Ingram is going to have to make for Kenobi, then maybe, just maybe, you should stop making it that way in the first place by, I don't know, making some good quality television. Well, that's just my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future. And I will be reviewing Kenobi when it comes out. So if you want that, subscribe, more videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.